Hello and welcome to the global online premiere of the documentary film Prosperity. My name is Dr. Pedram Shojai, host of the film and CEO of Well.org. We're a media company featuring stories and solutions that help make the world a healthier place. This film is our biggest effort to date. It explores mankind's most powerful force and how to use it to solve some of our greatest problems. The film's been 2 years in the making and just finished its theatrical release, and now we're ready to share it in our global online screening. I'll be back at the end of the movie to share some tools and resources with you, but for now, enjoy Prosperity. We live on such a beautiful planet, filled with wonder and abundance, teeming with life. Our species is only one of about 8 million on Earth, yet in the last few hundred years, we've exploded into being the dominant player. Our progress has been incredible, but it's been unchecked. It's like we're reckless teenagers, unaware of the consequences of our actions. We've grown and adapted, but in our wake, we've created social, environmental, and economic problems for future generations to clean up. Capitalism and commerce have been driving our growth as well as our missteps. They've fueled inspiring innovation, but also created an enormous wealth gap. This film's not about our path to destruction, though. It's a journey to find real solutions, sustainable ways for us all to thrive. It's a journey to prosperity. I'm Dr. Pedram Shojai, an author, filmmaker, founder and CEO of Well.org, and an urban monk. When my children were born, I asked myself what length I would go to protect them. And the answer was any length. But then I had to ask a more difficult question. Was I doing everything in my power to provide them a better world? And the answer was no. Most people think that the world's problems are too big to tackle. I think we must do this and nothing less. Complaining about the world while doing nothing's unacceptable. This is our world and these are our problems to solve. Our governments aren't getting it done. So what do we do? Today, businesses are shaping the world. So if we want to change things, we need to look at changing how we do business. Money fuels the economy, but profit at any cost will cost us everything. We need a new definition of prosperity, one that includes our values. I've heard of some people who are already doing this, so I'm heading out there to see for myself. Times Square, New York. This place is kind of overwhelming. It's so bright. There's so much light that's just costs money. And every single thing that I'm looking at here is advertising, right? It's someone trying to get you to consume their product in some capacity. And you know, I look at these, there's a lot of these companies are traditional companies doing traditional things and spending millions of dollars to get everyone's attention to say, buy my stuff. And it makes me think, man, if these companies, these companies right here just started making decisions that were more supportive of a healthier planet, of better trade practices, of taking care of people where they live, it would fundamentally change the entire world that we live in. But what would demand such change is the people all around me. And if they don't know, the companies are not going to care and none of that change is going to happen. So aside from these bright lights, that's what's going to keep me up at night.
I arranged to meet Dave Lakhani, who's a world expert on marketing and persuasion. I want to know how it is that people keep buying products from brands that don't act responsibly.
The amount of information coming to you constantly is impossible to stop. And it's not your fault that you make the decisions you do. Your brain and your body needs a way of processing this information easily and making decisions. And so we do the best we can. That psychology is guided by advertisers, not by you. The question you should ask yourself is this something that I need or something I want? Otherwise, you'll continue to go through life in this trance, and you will make the best and easiest decisions in the moment, for the moment, as opposed to making the best and easiest decisions that support your values.
People talk about having values, but then support companies that don't share them. Trying to find a way out of this mess, I happened upon a study that was looking at consumer sentiment. Just Capital polled over 50,000 Americans asking what they want and expect from business. This is the biggest survey of its kind and was published in Forbes magazine.
Just Capital is a platform that's going to be providing the public with a voice on how companies perform on the issues that they care about. One of the more heartening findings, actually, of that work was that there was a lot of agreement. You would think that this was a nation divided politically. Actually, when it comes to business behavior and the role of the private sector and what people want companies to be doing more of, there was a tremendous amount of agreement across political ideologies and income brackets. Strong agreement that companies can be a force for good, and that actually if you give the market information, the pendulum will start to shift away from just shareholder value towards all these other things which people hold near and dear.
Shareholder value means more money for the stockholders of a company, all tied to the bottom line of profits. I've been reading about a growing movement away from this short-term game of driving up quarterly profits at all costs. Now there's an emphasis on something called a triple bottom line that measures impact on people and planet along with profit. I heard about a great example of this just down the street called ABC Carpet and Home. They're one of the biggest home goods stores in town and have changed their tune to offer natural materials and non-toxic carpets. Paulette Cole is their CEO and is the one who made it all happen.
You changed the DNA of ABC Carpet. What inspired it?
I think that what inspired me to evolve with ABC was really something that came very intuitively about listening to my heart and my passion and allowing that to inform my choices. And about 13 years ago, we took on a great challenge of really sourcing organic, natural fibers. And we really made a commitment to begin to educate our consumers, to educate our teams, to really point the consumer towards making choices that would support their well-being.
You came from an environment where there was already profit. This was an established business. How did you temper profit with purpose, and how's that worked out for the business?
About 6 years ago, someone said to me, Paulette, in 5 years we could make ABC a $1 billion brand. And I thought about it, I took it in deeply, but I really said to him, I don't think the world needs ABC to be another $1 billion brand. I feel that this is a story of beauty, wellness, wisdom, and love. That's the way we see ABC. And we're going to do everything in our power to drive the business in this direction.
Paulette is motivating her customers to buy better products that come from a more ethical supply chain, and it's working. ABC is reported to generate about $150 million a year in sales. There's a lot happening in New York, and I've arranged to visit a few other businesses while I'm here, but an opportunity has come up that I don't want to miss.
My friend Naomi works with an indigenous people down in Panama called the Guna. They're harvesting cacao, which is the chief ingredient in chocolate. She's worked really hard to set up a fair trade relationship with them, and she says that this is the future of business. I need to see this, so I'm heading to Panama. Let's go see. So
So we're in Panama City. We got in last night. We're en route to a small airport to meet Naomi Whittle. We're going to an island called Playan Chico, which is where the Kuna live. And she's been working with them for some time, and this is where she sources her cacao and her coconuts, and she's trying to help them get their supply chain going.
Naomi runs a nutritional supplement company, and she and her director Jose have arranged a charter flight since the Cunayala Islands where the Kuna live are on the other side of the mainland, almost impossible to get to by land. During the flight over, Naomi tells me the whole story of why she got so interested in this area and these people. She read a paper published by Dr. Norman Hollenberg, a cardiologist at Harvard. His 25-year study showed that by drinking cacao regularly, the Kuna had teenage blood pressure into their 70s. They avoided heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and other chronic diseases. Naomi came here to see if her business could bring their cacao to the rest of the world.
The mission of my company is to provide nutritional supplements that offer life-changing benefits based on sustainable business practices.
As we make our way over to the island village, I'm amazed at how many children there are here. This place is alive with energy. From here, we're taken to the Congreso hut, sort of their town hall, where we meet with the village elders, the Silas.
And so our commitment is to sustain sustainability. It's to the longer period of time, and that's how we'll strengthen and gain that financial revolution.
Naomi's been working on this project for a few years now and has had countless meetings like this. They discuss the cacao project, and we need permission to film the story.
When you come here, they know that you're doing things. Do they greet you with suspicion? Are they open arms? Like, what's your interface with this culture?
We've been interfacing for over 5 years. Things take a long time. It takes forever to get something done here. But once it's done, then they really embrace that as part of their life.
You haven't given up, and you've probably had a lot of reason to give up.
Yeah.
Right? There's pushback, there's cultural friction. So what keeps you going?
I know that if the Kuna are able to provide a raw material, be it coconut or cacao, at a fair trade price, they can transform their economy, and that in turn has a huge impact on our U.S. economy. So this is the future of business, and that's what keeps me going.
The chief, one of them, he wasn't a chief, I guess, is a leader in there, said, I won't be around to see the results of this, right? But they will.
That's exactly right. And this village is made up of thousands of children. So there are more children here than there are elders. And his point was well taken.
We see a guy walking by with a plastic shopping bag, and I'm curious what money can buy on this island.
And so basic goods, right?
Can I put my hands in?
Yeah, he's for dinner.
This is for dinner.
So this is for dinner. So he's having corned beef.
Oh, some plantains.
Plantains, so plátanos. And then
But do these plantains come from the jungle, or did they buy this from the Colombians?
Colombia. From
They bought it from the Colombians.
Yes.
They live on the water. Most of them are fishermen, but yet they're selling that fish and they're eating the canned fish, and then they're producing the garbage. It's a vicious negative cycle.
It didn't take long in this paradise to see where the trash was ending up.
So as I'm holding this water, I feel like a hypocrite because I'm pretty sure I know where this is going to go. I mean, are we standing on it?
Yes. Each family, if you see around here, they throw all the garbage here. So why? Because before we used to eat all organic things. So we are like normal for us to throw it. Now we are having plastics, cans, but it's still throwing it. You see.
This is the beach upon which the modern world is splashing on the ancient world. And these are things that we have to deal with in our generation right here. Or these guys are going to have a really, really challenging time dealing with the world we hand them.
It's like these people have the same story as the rest of us, just played out on a small scale where we could see the impact so clearly.
The reason I chose this path around sustainable practices rather than a more traditional profit-centered company is because it truly makes good business sense. And this is the modern way, in my opinion, to build and grow a business. We grew the fastest growing mid-sized company in the nutritional supplement industry through these principles.
Chocolate's such a big thing in our world, but I'd never seen where it comes from. So apparently it grows on trees.
I came here for business. I came here to see, can I source the cocoa beans at a fair trade price, cut out the middleman, and provide a high quality product to my consumer that would be based on real science. I got here and I was shocked. The cacao trees were covered in something called witch's broom. So this is where the original cacao trees were planted. You can see how everything has been completely destroyed by the witch's broom.
So, I mean, what is it exactly? What is witch's broom?
Yeah, witch's broom is a fungus that destroys the cacao tree, and it destroys it from the pod all the way in, and through so that the tree can no longer produce healthy cacao.
We don't have cacao to use it for spiritual healings, for drinks, for nothing, so our spirit is weak. It makes strong our body, our mind, our spirit, and also we know that when we die, we go with the spirit of cacao to the next world.
I knew they were having some issues, but had no idea how devastating it was. They've pretty much lost their entire crop of cacao.
The grass is always greener. I don't get it.
As we walk deeper in the jungle, Naomi tells me about her solution. She's funded the planting of 50,000 new cacao trees.
So this is where it all starts. These seedlings are the beginning of what will be a fair trade revolution. And these seedlings have been specifically chosen to be resistant to the diseases. It takes time for the cacao tree to build, but these seedlings will be trees that will produce the crops that they will then be able to reincorporate into their families, into their lives, but also to be able to sell at a fair trade price to companies like us. And so the cycle becomes a virtuous cycle.
I have a much better sense of what's driving Naomi to do this now. It's like the Kuna represent the original purity in all of us. There's something meaningful, delicate, and important that she needs to protect here. We leave Playa Chico and make our way to another island where coconuts are traded. Naomi has another Congreso meeting where they discuss the setting up of a coconut processing plant.
What's so cool and so exciting is that the Kuna produce some of the largest quantities of coconut in the world. And so what we talked about today was this particular island produces approximately 37,000 coconuts per month. Those coconuts are then sold to the Colombians for about 40 cents per coconut. But they're not selling it for money, they're selling it for trade. It doesn't matter if the Colombians are paying 25 cents or 35 cents or 40 cents. What matters is the price that the Kuna are in turn paying for their staples. By purchasing 25,000 coconuts, we will be able to produce about 7,500 bottles of 8 ounces that then can be traded and sold into the US market through the vitamin shop, through Whole Foods. So the consumer's getting a really high quality product at a fair price. And the Kuna, in exchange, are getting about the equivalent of $1.20, which in turn can transform this entire community.
Naomi's projects here will potentially revolutionize the Kuna's economy because she's offering them real money at fair trade prices. She's taken her personal values and infused them into a higher purpose for her business. Paulette has a similar theme running, and I've come to realize that this is the common thread. They're both driven by purpose. Panama and New York are two extremes, though. I need to see if this is playing out across the rest of the country. I want to find other profitable companies that are good to people, take care of the planet, and are grounded in purpose. Are they competitive? Can they grow and still continue to practice what they preach? There's so much greenwashing out there. I want to make sure this is real. I first met with Rodale Publishing when I was writing my book, The Urban Monk, a family business started in 1930 by J.I. Rodale. Their company was built on a founding principle: healthy soil leads to healthy food, leads to healthy people.
So, what's the significance of this place to you?
This place is both the heart and soul of the family and the business, but it's also the birthplace of the organic movement in America.
So your grandfather, who was from Manhattan, decided to come out here and start doing organic farming, which wasn't a thing until he invented it.
He was on his own personal health journey and trying to understand the connection between his own bad health and what he was doing in his life. And he started reading a lot. And actually, there were a lot of thinkers who were talking about the connection between soil and health, but they were mostly in England. And he consolidated all that thinking and brought it to this farm to experiment.
And he did it in the workshop of his own body?
Yes.
In the workshop of his own farm?
Yes. He was just constantly trying new things and writing books and publishing new magazines. But organic gardening and farming was the first, which then transitioned to organic gardening. From there, he actually launched Prevention magazine in 1950, which became the huge financial success.
So he started publishing about organic farming and gardening well before people cared.
Yes.
And well before he was making money at it.
Yes.
And it was like costing him money. What was it? Was it just that much of a passion project for him?
Well, my grandfather was severely ridiculed and got a lot of crap from everyone for this idea that organic is better for you. He just was very passionately committed, though, and saw the difference that it made in his own health and in his life and in the environment. And to him, it was common sense. It was common sense.
He kept going because he knew it was important.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he taught us all the power of thinking long term and not being so focused on, am I making money right now, but am I doing the right thing for the future? And it'll pay off at some point.
That higher purpose really sounds like kind of the foundational thinking of the company.
The inception of the company was definitely based on this higher purpose that has guided us through every generation. We, as a family, look at this as, a responsibility. It's about creating a better world for everyone.
Rodale's been a publishing powerhouse with global distribution and an impressive portfolio of magazines and books. It's reported that they bring in over $300 million a year. J.I.'s legacy continues at the Rodale Institute, a nonprofit organic research farm. They share best practices in organic agriculture with the rest of the world.
We're seeing really good evidence that the companies that connect to something larger, that connect their brands to something larger, do better. There's a number of examples from consumer products like Unilever where they've directly tied some of their products to things like helping kids learn how to wash hands in the developing world using their Lifebuoy soap and saving lives. And that sounds like philanthropy, and I'm always, repeating it's not philanthropy. There's just cold, hard business logic here, too. If you're helping communities thrive, kids can grow up to be part of the economy. They can buy stuff. I mean, that sounds really silly, but if we're not helping communities thrive, making sure people have energy and water and stay healthy, they're not going to be a part of a growth economy.
And so if we could bring in this heartfelt ideas of, hey, we're all human here, and then you bring in some effective business models and you put them together and you create something where we're doing something where we're able to harmoniously and long-term offer services, products, whatever it might be, to the world without destroying everything in our path. That's the important part that business has been missing out on for a very long time.
What's missing for me is why more businesses aren't on this track. Can't purpose and profit coexist? I want to visit one of the original success stories, so I'm in Austin, Texas, at the headquarters of Whole Foods Market. They're a publicly traded company with over $15 billion in sales in 2016. Their founder and CEO, John Mackey, literally co-wrote the book on conscious capitalism and is one of the most vocal people in the space.
If you go to a cocktail party and you just sort of randomly ask people, what's the purpose of business? People will look at you very strangely. It's like, what do you mean, what's the purpose of business? That's a stupid question. Everybody knows the purpose of business is to make money. But if you think about it a little deeper, you'll see that's a very strange answer. My body makes red blood cells. If I stop making red blood cells, I'll be dead in a very short period of time. But that doesn't follow that the purpose of my life is to make red blood cells. Well, similarly, business can't live without profits. If it doesn't make money, it dies. But that doesn't mean business's purpose is to make profits.
Whole Foods started up in 1980 as a simple health food store in Austin. Today, Whole Foods has hundreds of stores, thousands of suppliers, and makes good money to support it all. But that's not their sole purpose.
Originally, the highest purpose of Whole Foods Market when we all started it was we wanted to sell healthy food to people, earn a living doing it, and have fun. Guess what? All three of those elements still exist.
There's no denying that this mission helped birth today's enormous market for natural and organic foods. Hundreds of health food companies owe their success to the shelf space they got at Whole Foods. It's a huge growing industry that's reported to top $80 billion a year worldwide. Not hard to understand Amazon's purchase of the company for nearly $14 billion. John and his team's higher purpose put healthy food on the map.
I have known hundreds of entrepreneurs in my life. Very few of them started their business mostly to make money. Most of them had some kind of dream, some kind of passion. It may have been tacit, it may have been unconscious and not explicit. They may never have articulated it, but it drove them. All the great businesses that you can admire, Apple or Google or Microsoft, they were all created by entrepreneurs driven with some kind of passion or dream.
But what about the new generation of workers and entrepreneurs? Millennials have already surpassed baby boomers as the dominant generation in today's workforce.
CEOs and executives, some of them seem almost scared of millennials, or at least concerned about where they're going. I think the ones who really get it are more optimistic about them, say this is the generation that's going to drive change in the way we want in our business. And, I was talking to the CEO of a really big food and beverage company, and he said, look, it used to be that a good product was one that tasted good and was safe and made some money. Now, he said, a good product is one that is sustainably and responsibly sourced, manufactured, and distributed. It has to have a whole story with it now. And so when I talked to him about, well, so why do you care about it, or what would get other CEOs to care more about this? He went off for about 20 minutes on social media and millennials about the ability of people to get online, make something happen on Twitter or on Facebook or a change.org petition, and challenge your business in an incredibly fundamental way.
People like to pick on millennials and say, oh, well, they're just, pop culture obsessed and distracted and this, that, whatever. And to a degree, I entirely agree with that. But at the same time, recognize the other ingredients, that these people are challenging you to change and to do something different. And you can either embrace that or you can fight that.
There's a startup company based in Los Angeles called Thrive Market, founded by two young guys who came onto the scene with a bang in 2014. Thrive offers healthy food online at wholesale prices. They've raised over $160 million from investors and are growing fast.
You recently just had a number of offers from some of the big box retailers and all this. People trying to buy you out, right? Hey, this is a good thing, let's snatch it up. And the answer was no. What is the mission of Thrive Market? What is this thing that you're fighting for that's bigger than money, that has this long-term vision that you guys are both gunning for?
We want to make healthy living affordable and accessible for every American family. It's that simple. And for us, that has three components. There's geography, right? So the ability to get these products to anyone in the country. A lot of people don't know this, but 70% of Americans don't live within driving distance of a health food store. It's also financial, right? Natural and organic costs 25 to 50% more than conventional. In most health food stores, we're making it the same price.
Traditional grocery distribution has brokers, distributors, retail markup. We cut all of that out, pass those savings along to our members who are paying $60 a year like a big box shopping club as our primary profit center as a business instead of profit on the actual product themselves. And then for every paid membership, we give a membership away to a low-income family, a teacher, or a student.
Had we tried to start this business 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, a lot of families in the Midwest and the Southeast, people that are living on a budget, weren't necessarily thinking about healthy, natural, organic food. And one of the things that's so exciting, what makes this not just a great social opportunity, but also a great business opportunity, is that the market's shifted. It's not just affluent people in Los Angeles or New York or San Francisco who are saying, I want to get healthy. It's families in Batesville, Indiana, and Minneapolis, Minnesota, and rural Kentucky. And again, you look at our market, that's who we're targeting.
As I hear these guys, I can't help but think they're standing on the shoulders of giants. Rodale and Whole Foods help pave the way for Nick and Gunnar to thrive in this climate. All three companies share a common thread in that they all operate with higher purpose.
And so it's not just about fulfilling our mission to make healthy living affordable and accessible, but showing that a mission-based business can succeed, that it can succeed at the highest levels, and that mission is not going to be a distraction from the business, but it can actually be core to that success.
Is this the future of commerce? Purpose-driven companies run by people who don't compromise their values for profit. When I started this trip in New York, Martin Whitaker told me of the top concerns of the 50,000 people in his business survey.
So what we've learned through repeated polling is that by far and away the most important issue or set of issues relate to how people are treated as workers and employees.
Traditional leadership revolves around companies maximizing profit by driving down costs, especially labor.
We need a different kind of more conscious leader. You cannot have a conscious business if you don't have conscious leaders. We need servant leaders. We need leaders who are dedicated to helping the business to fulfill its highest purpose, serving that highest purpose.
I did some research on companies known for their positive work culture, and that brought me to Dallas, home of the Container Store. They've been on Fortune magazine's list of best companies to work for 18 consecutive years.
So what's it like working here?
You make a difference in people's lives.
You feel that coming to work every day?
Absolutely. There's a synergy because everyone is excited to be there. There's a whole different interaction. There's a whole different level of caring for the customer and just trying to resolve their issues, whatever the project they're working on, you really want to find a solution for them. It makes a huge difference.
I'm the one that runs around the store and I'm on my knees. If you have something I need to solve, like I need all my fishing flies in a little box. If I don't send you out with a box and you're happy, I feel like I'll sleep overnight and I'll think of a way to solve that. I come in the next day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've so figured out this closet, what I have to do. I dream my customers. I love my customers. They come in, they ask for us.
The founder of the company, Kip Tindall, is a big supporter of conscious capitalism.
There is that you can build a better business on love than you can fear. I said that in the book that Herb Kelleher told me 35 years ago. Kip, you can build a better business on love than you can fear. I never heard anybody talk about that.
I mean, people went to World War II, guys did, and they came back from World War II and they started businesses, and they didn't know any better but to adopt the management philosophies they learned in the military to running these businesses. That's a terrible way to run a business. And so this servant leadership, conscious capitalism approach is pretty close to the opposite of that.
This historical basis that you're talking about with these guys coming back from World War II, not knowing anything other than military discipline.
Yeah, because they went in at 18 years old, so they didn't know any better. Right. That's what they knew.
They got browbeaten into a way of doing what they do, and it worked for them. And hey, we won the war. We were kind of drunk on that, but that became the operating principle of business. That's fascinating to me.
Imagine being a true servant leader versus a militaristic, top-down, Napoleonic complex dictatorial leader. Which one's more fun to work for? Which one's more fun to be yourself?
This servant leadership Kip talks about seems to be in effect throughout the company. I sense a good vibe through the culture, and it's refreshing to see people working together without the drama and the power dynamics of most companies.
At the heart of the Container Store and the culture it's all about love. It's family, it's team, it's genuinely caring about each other's well-being, not just, oh, how productive are you, or whether or not you showed up today. My job as vice president is to make sure that every single person that is in that distribution center wakes up every morning and looks forward to coming to work in the morning.
Putting our employees first, investing time, effort, love, and care into our employees to make them happy. And it just kind of radiates to everything that I do when you're happy and you know that you have a purpose at this company and you have a voice. And that's really important to people that come to work every day. They want to feel part of a team.
The cool thing to do is be that loving, caring, communicative person, where at a lot of companies, especially in a distribution environment, it's cool to just be tough, and I don't let people see who I really am. When you can whittle away at that and get to the person that's inside there, and to see them blossom and allow themselves to be who they really are, that's pretty cool.
I was a very quiet person. I was having a really hard time trying to share with my wife what was going on in my life. When I came here, all this sharing and coaching and helping each other, it changed me in the way that when I went home, I apologized to my wife for all those years that I was always quiet. I said, you know what, I'm sorry, because I missed a lot of things because I couldn't communicate. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to talk to you because I was afraid that I was going to show weakness. But what I learned here is it's not weakness. It's a desire to grow. It's an opportunity to learn more. So that changed my life outside.
The fact that this culture affected his personal life and helped his marriage points to something special.
I'm not an advocate of paying mediocre people well. I'm a big advocate of paying great people well. We pay 50 to 100% above industry average, and if you pay somebody who's getting 3 times the productivity, twice as much, everybody wins. The employee wins because she's getting paid twice as much as somebody else might have paid her. The company's winning because it gets 3 times the productivity, only 2 times the labor cost. And who wins? The customer wins.
We're kind of known for, yes, we're a conscious company and we're a fun culture. We're also really good at what we do. From the distribution standpoint, we're world-class in our distribution operations. Our metrics and our benchmarks and how much volume we do and how productive we are, we're among the best.
Whether I was with management, people on the sales floor, or in the distribution center, I felt like I was at a family barbecue the whole day. If that's servant leadership, then I'm into it.
A good organization, a good culture is going to be a fun place to work. It's going to be creative. It's going to be a lot of love expressed. It's going to be a lot of sharing of ideas. Because if you don't have that kind of culture, the business will sub-optimize. It actually will not reach its potential.
From my point of view, I'd rather give more people an opportunity to be doing what they love to do and pay them well for it versus just trying to run as cheap as we possibly can as a business so that our profit margin is even greater. I've taken that approach from day one, and it's always worked out that our profit margin will grow every time so long as we continue doing what's core value to us.
Can a sustainable business be handsomely profitable? Absolutely. Is it going to maximize the return for shareholders? No, and it shouldn't, because it shouldn't exclusively be focused on servicing the people who are investors. They're only one part of your community. You have to deal with your employees. You have to deal with your local community. You have to deal with the environment. It's sort of like if you had a family and you had 3 kids and all you cared about was one of the kids and you ignored the other 2. That doesn't work.
How did business become so focused only on investors? I need to talk to someone in finance about this, so I look up John Katovich in San Francisco. He's been a lead attorney in financial markets for years and is a professor who teaches this stuff in business school.
We have a concept called shareholder primacy. Shareholder primacy is the idea that a company is bound to put the interest of the shareholder first. That's a really interesting myth that some people believe is law, some people take as law, but it's really not law. It's really a mindset. We can overcome a Wall Street notion of shareholder primacy. That was created by Wall Street. We can create something different, a people primacy.
I like that. a people primacy. Maybe couple that with a planet primacy, and we wouldn't be in such a mess.
From our standpoint, there's not a trade-off between profit on the one hand and the planet and its people on the other. Those things are inextricably linked. And the road to profit is paying attention to what's happening in the environment, paying attention to what's happening with your employees. Because if you do that, you're going to have a very successful business.
This trip has really got me thinking about all the assumptions I grew up with about how things are, really making me realize that we just need to think differently.
My dear friend Ed Freeman is thought to be the father of the stakeholder model, where he calls it harmonizing the needs of all of your stakeholders, not just your shareholder.
And so the stakeholder principle recognizes that each of those stakeholders is important. This leads to a different theory of business ethics than has traditionally been articulated, where it's not just about the investors, it's also about the customers, also about the employees, also about the suppliers, also about the communities, and also about the environment.
When you're part of a conscious organization that is purpose-driven, you know the bigger picture. You are a stakeholder. You are part of a winning team.
This sounds simple, but it's a big concept. Everyone matters under people primacy. Even the community becomes a stakeholder. I keep hearing about a company that's leading in this space. I'm off to visit Studio Movie Grill, a dinner and movie theater chain. They have 24 theaters around the country and are known for supporting their communities.
We're trying to follow the story of prosperity and figure out who's doing the right stuff and how we can use business to make the world a better place. And it's exciting for us to be here, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
First off, we're a conscious business, so we really care about all our stakeholders being our employees, our guests, our vendors, our communities, and then our investors.
When we are looking for a new location, one of the big things that our outreach team does alongside our development team is canvass those neighborhoods, checking in with different local municipalities and business people, and really attempting to understand what's important to them because we want it to be important to us.
We serve the communities in a different way than you'd expect. We had an employee who had a child who had special needs who couldn't go to the movies. So then all of a sudden we said, well, let's do a special screening for kids with special needs, and now we serve thousands of people that way.
One of the things we do when we go into a market is the Cannes Film Fest. We give away a free movie ticket when guests bring in a canned food item. It's been a huge positive impact for us in our new markets when we partner with the local food banks there. And we thought we could have an even bigger reach if we did it on a national scale. So we launched our national food drive and collected over 17,000 pounds of food.
They're also supporting flood relief through the Red Cross, animal rescue shelters, raising funds to help children with cancer, and more. They give the employees plenty of freedom to suggest projects, and the company supports their vision in making them happen.
Great for the community because
well, the fact that we serve our communities really is our differentiator. That's our kind of 10 times advantage. Our customers are really committed to the fact that they want us to be successful. And that alignment actually makes all the difference, both short-term and long-term.
When you think about all these stakeholders, you begin to understand how every business depends on so many people. I'm learning that this is an ecosystem with all parts connected. I realize that I haven't actually met with a supplier yet, and immediately think of my friend Eugene Cook of Grow Where You Are in Atlanta. Eugene is as grassroots as you get. He's an urban farmer who's been growing healthy food in local communities for years.
This is it. Oh. This is our half-acre site in the middle of downtown. Yo.
All right.
Young lady, you remember Dr. Pedram Shojai?
Doctor, it's good to see you.
Again. Wow,
Welcome
great.
back.
Yeah, good to see you. Look at what you guys have done here. Wow.
Yeah, so today we're gonna do a quick harvest, right? We're gonna harvest from one of our restaurants, and because it's this time of day, peak heat, we're in and out, moving quick.
Tell me about this restaurant.
Empire State South. They make a new menu every day. Josh Hopkins, the executive chef there, is such an artist. He's able to basically take whatever we bring that week and make a menu out of it.
Amazing.
How do you price this stuff? Like what? Like you just go in and they have like a set price for stuff, or you're like weigh it?
Yeah, we weigh it. We have a scale on the back of the truck. I mean, for this bundle right here, probably $10.
That's $10?
Mm-hmm. So this is the wild ground cherry, which is ancestor of the tomatillo, and then this is wild amaranth.
That's amaranth.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this is the stuff, the seed that we get in the store.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple more weeks and be ready to shake out into the grain.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I know we're supposed to go, what, to the next plot over?
And this is yours.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Give a man a sword.
Mm-hmm.
You know what trips me out about this is that, you know, you go to American Diner, anywhere USA, and it's just like carrots, peas, and broccoli. And what you guys are cultivating here are ancient grains and really what people consider weeds, right? And you're selling them for $10 a bundle to these gourmet chefs. Like, why are we so backwards?
Well, a lot of it is about what is culture. You know, when Nicole was talking about the flavor of food is the culture of the food. So we're gonna cultivate your cucumbers and zucchinis and all that, and make sure that the things that grow naturally in the area, we support those as well and start to introduce them to the chefs introduce them to mainstream population.
You know, what's amazing is one of the biggest things we deal with in healthcare is nutrient density and people actually not getting nutrition. They're getting empty calories. And so what I'm hearing is these weeds are actually better for us, and somehow they're just not as elegant, and someone labeled them as weeds.
Okay, so look, we just left our garden. The lot over here in Southwest Atlanta is completely overgrown with medicines, problems, and fruit. You just have to know how to identify it.
All right, this is what we're looking for, right? Yeah.
Yep. Just pluck off the top, and they break off. No, it's fine.
So Eugene and I sat down, I guess about a year or two ago, and decided that it'd be a really cool idea if he could grow what I wanted, because a lot of our locals and our regulars definitely, you know, they want to eat locally, they want to eat organic, you know, really well seasoned food.
That kind of direct relationship not only benefits us in knowing that he chose this, if we grow it, it's gonna sell. And because he's had that one-on-one relationship with us, when we bring it to him, he's ready to pay a fair price because he knows that whole process. And so as we continue to eat locally, the local economy is stronger, the body recognizes the food better because it's grown directly in your local environment. Client is happy, customer is happy, farmer is happy. Eugene.
After the restaurant, we're off to the local Whole Foods market where our friends have been supplying fresh greens for some time.
Something that differentiates Grow You Are from any other farmer in the area is that community involvement piece. They work really hard to educate the community as well as the people that are buying their product. And the great thing about Whole Foods market is that people like me are sort of empowered to have the knowledge and what it takes to get these growers to market.
Eugene is a key stakeholder. Local farmers supplying straight to the market at a fair price is definitely win-win. A healthy supply chain that starts with people who nurture and respect the earth is good for business. And it also bodes well for the planet.
Money is something that exists here on this planet, and it's something that we created. And we now idolize and value so much due to the power it gives us that we're willing to destroy the planet that it exists on so that we can have more of it. The irony in that is, if this planet's gone, we don't even get to experience money.
Wherever you live, evidence that our planet's in trouble is just a click away. Over 100 million Americans live in urban areas where the air is unsafe to breathe. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is reported to be twice the size of Texas. 50 million acres of rainforest are lost every year. I could go on, but the stats are not the point. My journey is about finding successful companies that also take care of the planet. I've come to Guayaquil in Sebastopol, California. They're a 20-year-old company built around restoring one of the planet's most threatened assets, the South American rainforest. Their product is yerba mate, a traditional tea of Argentina which grows naturally in the shade of the tree canopy.
All right, so this is it, huh?
We are in the Guayaki Cafe.
Yeah, this is great.
Look at that.
Oh, thank you.
You always add cool water first to wake up the yerba.
To wake it up?
To wake it up. It protects the nutrients and the flavor. When I offer to you, I want it to be like the perfect temperature.
Just right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna drink the first few.
Yeah, great. Your business model is fascinating to me. People have kind of grown to think money is evil and business is bad and all that.
Yeah.
But your business isn't bad. You've got a great business that's actually helping. So in the future of how we can use capitalism to solve global problems, solve social problems and all this, I'd love to hear you kind of unpack that.
93% of this forest has been cleared. Many places we go and work, there's islands of rainforest left because they just come in and it just looks like fields. However, we feel like the mate can be the source for reforestation. As the market grows and people are consuming the product, our plan is to reverse the deforestation trend and really put a value in the forest. And we've seen, even in our own projects, like the forest starts coming back over a decade.
When did you get, when you put two and two together and you said, hey, listen, we could actually create a business that in its success creates success for the rainforest?
On the public market, everyone's always trying to externalize the costs and to the commons. So, there goes our water, there goes our air, all the pollution, the chemicals, those are all costs that the public pays for. We're trying to do the opposite and internalize as many costs as we can in the business model so that as we scale and grow, we're doing more good, or at least we're aware of what we're doing, aware of what we're doing well, aware of what we're not doing so well, and how we can do better. So for us, business is a tool to create change.
Some would say that's ludicrous. It makes you less competitive. It puts you at a disadvantage because the guy that's willing to cut that corner is going to be able to outcompete you. Now here you are, you said you're at what, 40% growth year over year. Is it consumer sentiment?
I think the generations now are growing up with an awareness of climate change, and it's been determined that reforestation and multi-strata forest canopies are the best way to basically suck carbon from our atmosphere. And our business model is right in sync with like the #1 and #2 solution for sucking carbon.
Okay. So the more of this you sell, the more carbon is pulled out of the atmosphere and helps support this kind of offsetting global warming.
The more that this becomes a reality, the more that there's hope that will inspire other businesses to do this sort of thing. Like, this is possible. Like, we can do this.
Next, I hang with CEO Chris Mann.
So our mission is to steward and restore at least 200,000 acres of rainforest and create at least 1,000 living wage jobs by 2020. When you look at it, it's just common sense. We have a product that's widely consumed throughout South America that's been taken out of the forest, grown in an environment where it's not native, and so that it requires additional inputs, chemicals, pesticides, fertilizers. If you bring it back to the rainforest, it's where it's co-evolved for millions of years. You get this higher quality, richer product. You can also then work with the community that relies upon this forest, and you end up sharing a superior product with the world.
All this sounds great, but as a business, it's pretty radical. Most companies make money and then give to some cause. For these guys, their business is the cause.
One of our big challenges in talking about our business model is people immediately want to know, well, what percentage of profits do you give? And it's like, no, it's not about that. It's really about embedding it all into the model. Because for us to steward and restore 200,000 acres, create 1,000 living wage jobs, we're working directly with those growers to grow the mate. So it means that we have to sell in the realm of $100 million worth of mate.
It's taken 20 years, but their yerba mate is sold all over Walmart, Whole Foods, Walgreens, Trader Joe's, with an annual revenue of over $27 million. Guayaqui's built a profitable business around their concern for the planet. But is it realistic to expect companies to include planet as a stakeholder?
I don't actually think there's debate about climate anymore. We think there is in the US because we're in an incredibly warped political system, and this issue, for a lot of historic and strange reasons, became completely bifurcated by political party. It's not true around the world. But what's changed in the last year or two really dramatically is that US companies are not debating this anymore. Because we now know that we have a very limited amount of time. We have to cut carbon drastically, almost eliminate it from our economy over the coming generation.
We're facing probably the biggest challenge that the human race has ever faced when it comes to climate change. And businesses are seeing that as an opportunity. They're seeing that they can play a positive role in helping to mitigate the greatest challenge we face.
Not everyone can plant carbon-sucking trees, but how about solutions for putting out less carbon in the first place? I happen to know David Gottfried, the co-founder of the Global Green Building Council. Dave's the godfather of green building, and he helped create the LEED rating system.
The U.S. Green Building Council started off to green all buildings in the U.S., to define them, to measure them, but also educate all the professionals, whether they're architects or manufacturers. The LEED rating system became such a hit that it went global. We've become almost the foremost example of greening an entire industry, perhaps the world's biggest industry, with economics driving the way. It's really that value is also healthy and good for the planet.
The LEED rating system is now in over 100 countries. Dave wanted me to see one of these buildings for myself, so he arranged a meeting with Bob Fox of Cook Fox Architects, the firm that designed the One Bryant Park Tower in New York, one of the greenest buildings in America.
Can you speak to how much of our power is kind of burned or wasted in these buildings?
Well, in our country, about 40% of the energy is used by buildings. In New York City, because of the density of the buildings, it's 80%. So if one is going to attack the CO2 problem in a city like New York, you don't start with cars, you start with buildings. A green building is one that has a logo on it that says LEED, and one that has passed a pretty rigorous test of what goes into making a green building. So how does it relate to its site? How does it use water, consume water, conserve water? How does it use energy or not use energy? What are the materials in the building? Where do the materials come from? Do they come from halfway around the world, or do they come from 4 miles away? And the most interesting thing about New York is that the new buildings are concerned about conserving energy and conserving water and using the right materials. Almost all of the new buildings do that. In the early days, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, sure, it was more expensive. But when people came to us and said, well, we want to do a green building, but how much more is it going to cost? Nobody asks that anymore. It doesn't cost anymore.
Wow, I had no idea how far we'd come. One of the biggest industries in the world is now turning green. After meeting with Bob, the head engineer gave me a tour of the inside systems of the building. It seems this thing has a heart, lungs, kidneys, and brain. It was all monitored by computers with energy and water efficiency being optimized constantly.
So what happens is these filters are what was considered a MERV 8 filter, one of the highest rating filters that there is. If it gets exhausted out of the building, that air we've tested was actually cleaner than the outside air coming into the building.
What an idea. Imagine cities becoming carbon sinks in the future where the buildings act like trees. If only we could filter out all the other waste we generate. It's an enormous problem on the planet, and we've done precious little about it. I was told of a young company called TerraCycle who are apparently doing some amazing things to help solve this problem.
Our goal at TerraCycle is to try to avoid waste ending up in our landfills, incinerators, or even our oceans. And what we do here is we construct national programs where people can collect waste streams that have no recycling solution on them today, everything from cigarette butts to latex gloves to chewing gum and all sorts of different things, collect them and then process them in a circular way so the materials go around again. One of the things that I'm most thrilled with is, yes, we do have partners that are the ones you would intuitively think should work with us. But what is even more exciting for me is when we work with the companies you wouldn't expect. So my goal, instead of commenting on whether cigarettes or any other product is good or bad, is to say, let's convince these organizations or retailers or factories to invest their money not in necessarily marketing and TV commercials, but in creating robust recycling solutions for those things that couldn't be recycled before. And by showing companies that they can win By investing dollars in social good and purposeful activities, they will do more of those things.
Recently, I learned that TerraCycle partnered with Procter & Gamble on the first shampoo bottle made from recycled plastic recovered from the ocean. Profit motive is a powerful force. And if caring for the planet can be profitable, business then becomes a powerful force for good. John Mackey considers profit to be the red blood cells of business. You either make it or you die. It's certainly a cornerstone of capitalism, but what I've learned on this journey is that there's definitely more to business than just monetary gain.
Adam Smith is often noted as the first person who really provided a comprehensive understanding of capitalism. His first book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments, was all about moral action, what it meant to be a moral human being. I have an economist friend, Dan Klein, who claims that Adam Smith quite deliberately wrote the moral book first and then The Wealth of Nations second, because he realized we needed to solidify a sense of morality first and then talk about the power of capitalism.
There's a long history of economics and what changed, but there are a couple pivotal moments, and the economist Milton Friedman was really one of the main progenitors of the idea that the purpose of business is just shareholder value. I don't actually think pursuing shareholder value is necessarily the problem. It's pursuing it only in the very short term. It's this pressure to deliver every quarter and tell Wall Street how you're doing and prove that you're growing at a steady amount every quarter that keep companies from innovating.
What matters is, are they thinking long term? And if they are, that means they're going to be changing their light bulb to be able to save energy costs over the long term. And it means they're going to be investing in their employees so that they have less turnover and a more innovative workforce. Those things are just smart business, and it makes those companies sustainable.
We've created a financial and accounting system that encourages and rewards short-term behavior. If you think about the New York stock market, 40 to 50% of the stocks traded on the New York Stock Exchange are held for a matter of seconds. People are trading on 1/100th of a cent movement in one direction or another. We've created a world where we have a whole business that produces no real value. It's just trading on minute movements of stocks that don't reflect their long-term value or performance.
It takes time to grow good things, but it seems that we've moved away from this natural principle. Making money isn't the problem, though. It's how we go about it.
You have to make money. If you don't make money, you don't have the fuel to expand. You don't have the fuel to do all these great things. When I started with conscious capitalism, I felt a little kumbaya deal. You know, you give away, it's charity, it's nonprofit. Well, it really isn't that at all. It's actually framing your business in a way that all the stakeholders can win.
I think profits are essential, but it's not the sole responsibility. I mean, profits come from a purpose, that you're fulfilling a need in the world and in the economy, in people's lives. So if you fill a need, profits will come.
Somebody like Bill Gates, okay, let's take Bill Gates as an example, richest man in the world, pretty big piece of the pie. It was earned through what he exchanged, through the value he created. And I would argue that Microsoft has created far more value in the world than they've ever gotten back, because it's rippled out, and all these other businesses have prospered through what Microsoft has created in the world, or what Apple created with Steve Jobs, or what Google's creating now. They're transforming the world. They're advancing humanity.
It seems right that healthy profits go to businesses that advance humanity. We need more of them. According to the United Nations, there's a $6 trillion deficit in money that's needed to solve the world's problems. There's a company called Game Changers 500 run by Andrew Hewitt. He's helping create a new directory, rating companies that use the power of business to tackle these problems.
We keep trying within the same established model to find solutions, yet the model itself is flawed?
Yeah, so the assumption has been we grow business, we grow the traditional corporation, and as we do that, money trickles into nonprofits and governments, and that handles the needs of society and fixes the problems that we have. And what we've seen now is that as we've grown the economy, as we've grown traditional for-profit businesses, We've also grown the global issues. Climate change, species extinction, and inequality have also increased. And the gap between the problems and the solutions continue to widen.
So this new model of business, what is it?
It's best defined as for benefit rather than just for profit or nonprofit. And these businesses exist for a purpose beyond profit. They have practices that maximize benefit to people on the planet, and they measure performance through a triple bottom line: people, planet, profit.
If I'm in the traditional model and, me and my old business school buddies are, on playing this game and using this scoreboard, and all of a sudden one person decides to go off and be for benefit, how does he remain competitive in a world where we're going after more money, we could outspend them, and we could really, use money to leverage some sort of advantage?
Well, there's two things happening. One is you have this emerging new class of investment, impact investment, that's expected to grow 700% by 2020. And then you also have purpose-driven companies. These organizations are actually outperforming their for-profit peers, creating a true incentive for investors to move money in this direction.
For a long time, people thought there was a trade-off between getting good financial returns and investing your values. That's a fiction. We have an investment fund that invests in companies that are not only fossil fuel free, but really strong on the environment and for their employees. And it's actually been in the top 1% of funds investing in large companies over the past year.
A group called Agricultural Capital Management is making great returns on converting old farms into eco-friendly and scalable operations. They grow healthy food using practices that sequester carbon from the atmosphere and also create jobs.
We were meeting recently with a very large pension in Europe, actually in excess of $300 billion in capital. And their constituents, who are nurses and doctors, made it clear that they wanted more sustainable investments in the portfolio. They're suddenly tasked with this challenge of how do we go out and deploy $30 billion in sustainable investments? That is a huge challenge for them because those vehicles don't necessarily exist. And I think that kind of pressure will cascade through the investment world as that becomes a real challenge for those chief investment officers of placing the capital.
This to me is like waking a sleeping dragon. If pension and retirement funds say they want this, the world changes very quickly.
There's been enormous global increase in the amount of sustainable investing over the past decade. But almost all of it has come from very large institutions and very wealthy individuals. What we have the chance to do today because of the internet is to democratize sustainable investing and put it into the hands of people all across the world.
It's nice to see this happening. But what about the banking industry? Community banks and credit unions have been around for a while, but now there's a new generation of conscious online banks giving us even more options.
Consumers out there are looking for banks that actually have a conscience and a soul. And the problem is for a long time they weren't able to find them. Today, there's financial options out there that offer much higher interest rate, much lower fees, and at the same time let people exercise their own values every day.
I found a bank in San Francisco with a good reputation for this. They're committed to investing money in social enterprise and holding the line for a new conscious form of banking.
We have along the wall here all our clients, all these big full poster-sized views of different clients that work all around the world. And this is about why your bank matters. This is about the difference between the big global banks and the kind of bank that we are and some of the community banks are. This sort of lays out that whole structure of those that are banking for change versus those that are banking for money.
Yeah, well, look at this. Love that term.
That's right, prosperity. People,
that's it.
Planet, prosperity. That really captures what our mission is all about, bringing well-being to the people and planet. Yeah.
I've seldom heard a bank talk about impact. So I love the fact that that's kind of like front-facing in your business here.
We want people to walk in the door and see that we are different, that it really is about impact, and that what we do is create impact in the world through your deposits, through your funds. It really comes down to this concept of the real economy. The real economy means the goods and services around us that we see and use and touch. The individual has a choice. Do I buy organic food or not? Do I use an organic bank or not? And when I talk about an organic bank, I mean a bank where your money will go into something that you're proud of in terms of helping to support your community, as opposed to going into a big bank where the money is going out into the financial world of hedging and trading and stocks.
I always find it amazing that we talk to people who consider themselves deep green, and they tell us things like, I'm buying local and I buy organic. And yet when you talk to those people about where they bank, most of them say, big bank A, B, or C. And what's interesting is that they haven't made the connection that where you bank is important.
We believe that money in banking can bring well-being to a community, that it will help prosperity for both the business, for the people, for the planet. That's what our higher purpose is to help achieve that well-being for our communities.
This bigger idea of prosperity is rich and it's important. It's like humanity is coming through adolescence and growing into a more mature age, taking care of people and planet, fulfilling a purpose, and yes, making a profit.
A lot of people ask the question, so if we can make such a big difference, why aren't more people doing it? And I think the most fundamental barrier we face is really a belief that we can't make a difference. That belief is the most dangerous thing that we confront. Because if we give away our power and our influence because we don't think we matter, then we make that the reality.
The flow of money comes from our daily choices. All we need to do is assign monetary value to our actual values and reward good behavior.
After spending so much time on this journey, I've come to realize that there's 5 areas where we could take action in our lives. The first one is so simple. It's something we all do every day.
As a woman and as a mother, I know how confusing it can be when you look at everything that's out there. It's a total jungle, and it's scary because you want to give your children the best. So choosing a few brands and understanding their mission and their passion around supply chain is critical, and then sticking with those companies.
Everyone now can ask new questions. Where did this product come from? Who made it? Were they paid a living wage? What's their life like? And we have at our fingertips, in our hands, everybody's carrying with them all of human knowledge. It's a very small leap from that to, I'm about to buy a product, I want to know what's in it.
If you're watching this and resonate with anything that we're talking about, you are in a very powerful position to create change. Vote for the things you want more of by buying those things. There's this great statistic that if we all stop buying, say, chewing gum, it would only take 4 weeks to destroy the entire idea of chewing gum worldwide. That's it. No legislation, no protests, no anything. Just choose to buy differently.
Here's what I'm committing to personally. Every time I come to spend money, I ask myself 2 simple questions. 1, do I really need this thing? And if so, is this purchase making the world better or worse? I'm never going to be perfect, but at least I'm heading in the right direction.
We need to choose not just to buy from good companies, but to work for good companies, to put our energy and talent behind making those good companies better and more successful.
When you look at the brands that you love, that are part of your life, you open your cabinet and you every day want to use that brand and you're connected with that brand, those are the companies that want you.
You have to be a customer of that company. You have to already love the company, be passionate about it, passionate about what they do, what they stand for, and how they're relating to their customers.
If you're interested in thinking about wanting to be part of one of these organizations that is based on your core principles, you should reach out to them because you don't know where it's going to go. And when you're around like-minded people, that's how we start to change the world.
We spend a full third of our lives at work. How can you help align your company with a higher purpose? How can you be better to people and planet? Be that voice in your company and encourage others to find theirs.
Most people that work with a company have their money in a retirement account known as a 401k. And your money has been put with others who are managing it, but you don't really know what they're doing with it. What most people don't know is that you can actually ask your company to set up a separate account that allows you to invest the way you want to invest.
Over the past 10 years, we've seen the amount of money invested in socially responsible investing basically double every couple of years. So we've gone to about $9 trillion invested in sustainable investing. When you're investing in companies with really strong environmental practices, employee practices, diversity, and governance, you're actually making these companies stand up and listen to what you wanted to believe in.
There are a number of impact investment funds that are getting good returns on sustainable ventures. Consider moving some of your money there. The moral of the story is, whether it's $5 or your life savings, you can make your money matter.
If you could imagine a dollar bill as a little magic carpet, and you could shrink down and travel on this dollar bill around the world, would you be proud to see what your money is doing at night? Because it's not sleeping at night, it's not sitting in a vault at night, it's out working while you're sleeping. That's a powerful way for people to start thinking about that they are an economic player, whether they see it or not, in the current system.
For a long time, people didn't switch banks because there's not really a reason to go from one big bank to another. But now it's become really easy. Everybody in their own pocket, on their own phone, has the ability to open an account with the kind of financial institution that's going to speak to who they are, their own conscience, and their own values.
We've seen how irresponsible banks can be, and they do it with our money. Today, there's an entire industry of safe, ethically minded banks to choose from. I've moved my accounts to a conscious bank. I get all the same services while my money helps make the positive change I want to see in the world.
We make a difference. We impact other people, and that impacts other people, and it ripples out. So take responsibility for your own choices, your own actions, your own ethics, and act in a more conscious way. And over time, you may be surprised the impact that you can have.
So oftentimes people will come to us and talk about their complaints and ask us to come and protest. I'm like, you want to protest? Stop putting your money into the hands of people that you disagree with. That's a protest.
The consumer's voice, our voice, is becoming louder and louder. And we have to continue down that path. We have to keep voicing our opinions.
People don't think sending an email or writing a letter to the company makes a difference. It does make a difference. As a CEO who runs a business, if I get 10 letters about the same issue from consumers, I've got a crisis.
It turns out complaining to your friends doesn't cut it. Speak your truth and tell these companies where they're falling short and what you'd like to see more of. Use social media, sign a petition, start a protest, whatever it takes. Your voice matters.
Here's something totally unexpected that I got involved in. I'm back in Panama. It's a last-minute trip in the final stages of this film. We may have a cool solution to the Cuna's waste problem. Several months ago, when I met Tom Zaki, I told him about my frustration with all the trash in Panama and asked if he could help us clean up the plastic on their beaches. The timing was perfect because Tom had just announced a partnership with Procter & Gamble where they'd committed to using recycled beach plastic for some of their shampoo bottles. Naomi arranged for us to meet with the Cuna chiefs.
And he's very happy that all of you have had an effort to come and meet him personally with him and the rest of the team and see what can we do in the future together.
We feel very honored to be able to work with you, to be able to create solutions to some of the garbage that today is floating up on your shores, not just here, but in the other islands, on the coast. That is something that I'm very saddened by.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that seems like it went well.
Yeah, it went really well, I think. Isn't it great that we can bring a solution from the developed country here and actually bring back all the waste to where it belongs?
Yeah. And I think it really kind of broke it for them when they realized that you were saying, we're going to come and do this, and we have a third party paying for it. So we're not asking you for anything. We're just here to help.
Because there's a real partner, in this case, Procter & Gamble, really driving the engine and making the economics work, we can do these things and really stand behind it.
The chief wants us to see one of the beaches needing cleaning up. Sadly, a familiar sight already.
This is, exactly what we were looking for. It's very ironic in a way, because we're out there trying to solve these problems, and the real answer is you hope they would never exist.
But here they are.
But here it is, and it's we're going to do a lot of good with this, though.
You know what's fascinating to me is this is a global problem, and you've taken a global problem and turned it into an opportunity. So you've turned it into gold, and so it's like you actually hunt this. It's crazy.
Well, it's you have to mimic nature. You know, nature hunts everything, and everything it finds a use for. And so we need to do the same with what we have. So what we're able to really collect here and recycle is the rigid plastic that looks like this, and in fact it's the majority of the waste you see. We're not going to be able to take things like textile or flexible plastic, but I think we're going to have a great solution to begin with the rigid. That's going to solve a massive problem.
It's like 70–80% of it here.
Yeah, and then look, if we, you know, with the inspiration we can create here, maybe other organizations, maybe textile companies will come and give us the funding to be able to solve the textiles. So it's all about having the business models together.
Great.
Waste will be collected from the islands and then sent by boat to the mainland. The plan is for the hard plastic to be recycled into Procter & Gamble's new shampoo bottles, which themselves are recyclable.
Amazing. This is from Oceanic Plastic.
That's exactly what we're standing on, literally. Just with a little science.
So since you made this announcement, from what I understand, other companies are now following suit?
Yeah, that's definitely happening. And I just believe that this is the beginning, not only for us, but to, other companies, other industries. It's conscious capitalism.
It's nice to see the chiefs thinking ahead for their people. I'm hoping the parties follow through and make this happen. Of course, there's no guarantee. If people don't care about cleaning up the oceans, then those shampoo bottles won't change anything. Businesses succeed and fail, get bought and sold. No matter how they're run, they need to adapt. The one thing about them that'll never change is that they'll always have to serve the market, and that's us.
Just heading out of Cunayala and just overlooking the land that we left, and it's quite something. You know, in the making of this film, we might have actually connected some dots and done something really good for the planet. And, you know, it's occurred to me that I don't need to save the world. I just need to handle the problems in front of me. And so my question to you is, what do you see in front of you that could use some fixing? Just start there. I want to thank you so much for watching the film and joining us here. I hope you enjoyed it. Now is the time for action. We've put together tools and resources here on this page for you to be able to access to bring more prosperity into your life, into your community, and into your world. We've also recorded a comprehensive roadmap course with extended interviews with experts in each of these fields to help you understand this more, and again, to bring it into actionable items that you could take in your life. I invite you to check out the information on this page and also look at becoming a stakeholder in the well.org community. We have a lot of good things planned, a lot of wonderful things coming, and continuing education to keep this going. This is just the beginning, and the time to step up is now. I look forward to seeing you in our community.